Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our showing of Wall Street, 1987, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Michael Douglas in his Oscar-winning performance as the corporate villain Gordon Gekko, Charlie Sheen, and Martin Sheen. The film was co-written by Stone and his fellow film school buddy Stanley Weezer. Nobody had done a movie about the business world for a long time, and the 1980s was a period of great excess in the world of finance as its prevalent class structure broke down. So Wall Street was set in 1985 as the insider trading scandals came to a head. The film defines itself through a number of morality conflicts, pitting wealth and power against simplicity and honesty, and attacking the value of extreme competitiveness where ethics and the law are simply irrelevant parts of the show. The conflict between Gekko's relentless pursuit of wealth and Fox's left-hand leanings forms the basis of the film's subtext, that of two fathers battling for control over the morals of the son. Stone even dedicated the film to his own father. Gekko's speech to the Telfar Paper Company's shareholders is used to justify his actions, casting him as a liberator of the company values from the ineffective and highly overpaid company executives. Weezer, who had no financial background, researched stock trading, junk bonds, and corporate takeovers, and he and Stone spent 3 weeks visiting brokerage houses and interviewing investors. Stone used his camera to differentiate between two types of scenes, filming in cinema verite style during action scenes, with the camera bouncing back and forth from character to character. He used a still camera in more tranquil scenes between father and son. He pictured Wall Street as a battle zone, filming conversations as physical confrontations with the camera, looking over the protagonist's shoulder and allowing the camera to circle around the actors in ensemble shots. The character of Gordon Gekko is said to be a composite of several famous financiers, including Stone's father, Carl Icahn, Michael Milken, Ivan Boesky, Asher Edelman, and Michael Ovitz, and Sir Lawrence Wildman was based on the British financier and corporate raider Sir James Goldsmith. Wall Street came to be seen as the archetype of 1980s excess, with Gekko declaring that greed, for want of a better word, is good, a quote which came to be viewed as one of the most famous in movie history. This line was inspired by a speech given by Ivan Boesky to the 1986 graduating class of the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Business Administration, in which he said that greed is right. The film opened to both critical and financial success. It earned $43.8 million on a budget of $16.5 million. Vincent Canby of the New York Times said that Douglas's work was the funniest and canniest performance of his career. Jay Scott of the Globe and Mail praised his performance as an oily triumph. Roger Ebert praised the film for allowing all the financial wheeling and dealing to seem complicated and convincing, and yet always have it make sense. When Douglas won his Oscar, he thanked Stone for casting him in a part that, quote, almost nobody thought he could play. Daryl Hannah's performance was not as well received. She received a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Supporting Actress, making Wall Street the only film to date to win both an Oscar and a Razzie. The film was shot primarily in New York City with a moderate $1.5 million shooting budget. Among the sites used are the 21 Club, P.J. Morgan's Pub and Restaurant, 222 Broadway, where Gekko's offices are located, the ballroom of the Roosevelt Hotel, the scene of the Greed is Good speech. Fox tails Sir Lawrence Wildman to the old Standard Oil building at 26 Broadway and on to Le Cirque in the old Mayfair Regent Hotel at 610 Park Avenue, since redeveloped by the Trump Organization as a condominium, and the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The movie's penultimate scene was shot in the sheep meadow in Central Park and ends at Tavern on the Green. The final scene shows Bud walking up the steps of the New York County Supreme Court building. At one point, we see Gecko and Fox in Gecko's limo. When Fox climbs out, the limo moves on to the end of the street where the Metropolitan Museum of Art can be seen. Gecko's beach house is located at 67 Surfside Avenue in Bridgehampton, Long Island. And Bud's penthouse is in the Connaught Tower at 300 East 54th Street at 2nd Avenue. Plot summary. Our third villain is Gordon Gekko, a high-rolling corporate trader in 1985 New York City, whose mantra is, "Greed is good." Gordon is idolized by a young, naive, and hungry broker named Bud Fox as he worms his way into Gekko's inner circle and learns to prostrate himself at the feet of his idol and bury his sense of ethics. When Fox manages to make some money for Gekko, Gekko hands him $1 million to invest as he pleases, and other perks, including a beautiful interior designer named Darien. When Gekko's wheeling and dealing causes a near tragedy to occur, Bud sees the light and reforms, although his means of rectifying his mistakes and destroying Gekko are just as underhanded as those of his mentor. Fun facts about the film. The opening titles of Wall Street are designed in the old Hollywood style, large and sweeping. They run over recognizable but mysterious sepia-toned images of New York sights. We hear the classic Sinatra recording of "Fly Me to the Moon" as the sun rises over Manhattan. The crew built from scratch a complete boiler room with dozens of working computers and thousands of feet of hidden wiring to power all the electronics. Originally, the main character was a young Jewish trader named Freddie Goldsmith, but Stone changed the name to Bud Fox to avoid the stereotype that Wall Street was being taken over by Jews. When Stone was asked why he hired Douglas to play Gordon Gekko, he said that Douglas had that villain quality. Douglas read profiles of the infamous corporate raiders T. Boone Pickens and Carl Icahn to prepare for his role. Charlie Sheen was given the choice of his father or Jack Lemmon to play his movie father, Carl Fox. He chose his real-life father, Martin Sheen. Stone was well aware that Daryl Hannah was miscast as Bud's girlfriend, Darien. She often showed up on set late and unprepared and didn't get along with Charlie Sheen, causing friction on the set. Jeffrey Mad Dog Beck, who was a star investment banker at the time with Drexel Burnham Lambert, was a technical advisor on the film. He has a little cameo as the guy speaking at the meeting about the breakup of Blue Star. Kenneth Lipper, also an investment banker and former deputy mayor of New York for Finance and Economic Development, was the chief technical advisor on the film. He said it was unrealistic to have all the characters morally corrupt and advised Stone on the kinds of computers used on the trading floor, the correct proportion of women to men at a business meeting, and what extras should be seated at the annual shareholders meeting where Gekko gives his greed speech. Lipper helped Stone get permission to film on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Therefore, most of the brokers in that scene are bona fide traders, not actors. Traders were brought in to coach the actors on set, show them how to hold their phones, write out tickets, and talk to clients. Early in the film, Stone tested Douglas's repressed anger. He came into Douglas's trailer and asked him if he was on drugs because he, quote, looked like he hadn't acted before. This shocked Douglas into working harder on his lines and pushing himself harder than he had before. The result, of course, was an Academy Award performance. Douglas's high roller attire was designed by Alan Flusser, Ermenegildo Zegna, and Salvatore Ferragamo. These styles became highly popular with the yuppies of the 1980s. Wall Street is the first feature film to show a character using a cordless mobile cellular phone. Stone's 3-year-old son plays Gecko's little boy at the end of the film. Trump was referred to in the film as one of the financiers who had made it big without breaking the law. Things to look for: old-fashioned Golden Days of Hollywood type titles. Note Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon and views of New York buildings in sepia tones under the opening titles. Oliver Stone's little boy playing Gecko's son. Listen for the talking heads singing "This Must Be the Place" near the film's end. Note the reference to former President Trump as a financier who made it big without breaking the law. Gecko's handsome wardrobe by Flusser, Zegna, and Ferragamo. Daryl Hannah's lovely clothes by Crizia of Rome. Listen for the iconic line, "Greed is good." Note the real traders on the floor of the stock exchange. Check out Gecko's gorgeous Hamptons digs. Scenes set in 21 Club, Le Cirque, P.J. Morgan's, and Tavern on the Green. The fleeting view of the Metropolitan Museum of Art at the end of East 81st Street. The contrast of the cinema verite bouncing shots versus those shot with a stationary camera. Look for the use of early cell phones. And the New York County Supreme Court building seen under the closing titles. Now it's time to view the villainy of Wall Street. Sit back, settle down, and please remember, it may take a few minutes for the film to roll. Enjoy.